I worship you. I worship you. You are here working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. Hey, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here.
Thank you very much. Who is here? Who is here? Is God Almighty Himself, who is here doing wonders and miracles and marvelous in our midst. I promise to come back into this house and read a document which I will want to title The Story. And this document, remember, this is the hour of Wealth is Health by Dr. Yaya. And I got this document from her, and she said, look, historian, if you can add it and then read the document as it is, it will help a lot of Ambazonians. The document is said to have been written by the Ambazonian student Kakus to Mr. Manager of Equinox concerning the outing of one Mr. Usman May on June, the month of June. Well, it says Sunday, 21st of June. No, let me see. Sunday, 21st of May, 2023. I'm going to read the document just as it is. Just going to read it straight. This is to inform the Ambazonians, those of you who are still sitting on the fence, and those of you youths who have not yet found it necessary and important to cue in to what the Ambazonians are doing. Well, for your information, there is a crop of Ambazonian students who are not sleeping. Like I said, our educational system made us to think, not to copy and paste. Whatever was given to La Republique students like Osman May, they just swallowed the pill and came and spew it out shamelessly, not knowing that we are in the age of digging out the truth and telling it as it is and as can be verified. So I'm going to read this letter, which was written to the manager of Equinox Television, Mobile Bonakwama, in Nigeria, in Douala, Republic du Cameroon, care of Mr. Duval Fangwa. The program La Vérité en Face, Equinox TV. Sir, we, talking about the Ambazonian students Kakus, write to express our disagreement with a few things, not all, but a few things Mr. Abubakar Usman May said on your program, La Vérité en Face, on Sunday, the 21st of May, 2023, concerning the war in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, as they call it, which we actually call Ambazonia, even if you don't like the name, but it is Ambazonia. We would like to congratulate Mr. Abubakar Usman May for summoning the courage to get Francophones to know that according to Article 4B of the United or African OAU, Organization of African Unity Charter of 2000, which Cameroon has ratified, the boundaries of any country are frozen at the day of its independence. That's the article. He is the first Francophone we have heard say this in public. This declaration is important to understand the problem in the northwest and southwest of regions of Cameroon, Ambazonia, as I mean, this well, they call it northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, which is actually Ambazonia. We are not northwest and southwest of Cameroon anyway. Where do we disagree with Mr. Abaka Osman May? Point A. On the program La Vérité en Face on Sunday 21st of May 2023, Mr. Abubakar Osman May said the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions arose from a deficit of information at the level of the northwest and southwest region of Cameroon. This is very, very funny. They are the ones who are void of northwest, of the facts. Anyway, I said I'm not going to comment. Let me just go ahead. When you are telling lies, it's very disturbing, On the program, he said they should find a way to explain things to the youths of the Nozo. In the program, he said they should find, no, that's BC. In the program, he said his cousin's child in the gendarmerie died in Nozo as a patriot. On the program, he said the Canadian initiative to resolve problem in Nozo showed contradiction at the level of the state, and so Cameroon is a mysterious country. On the program, he said they of the North want a federation. That's Northern Cameroon. On the program, he said Nozo should stop the useless fighting. G. On the program, he said while Laurent Esso, as Minister of Justice, solved the issue with Nigeria over Bakassi in peace, he has never said the issue of Nozo should be solved in peace. Okay. A. On the program La Vérité en Face on Sunday, the 21st of May 2023, Mr. Abubakar Osman May said the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions arose from a deficit of information at the level of the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Now, this is the point A that we mentioned over there. And then we go ahead now to give the analysis. If Mr. Abubakar Osman May is honest, he would accept with us that when the French decided in the cooperation agreement between Cameroon and France in 1959 to orientate education in Cameroon from primary school to university, one of the things they did was to make sure that the history of the country was not taught in primary schools or secondary schools in La République du Cameroon. And this has not changed. The history of the country was taught in schools in southern Cameroons from 1954, when we left the Enugu House of Assembly to start our own government, to 1972. Consequently, there is information about the country that we know that Francophones do not know. So, secondly, the French made sure that whatever was exposed to them as history was distorted for their purpose. Abubakar Osman may not know this fact that was only acknowledged and admitted by the French in the French Senate in 2014. See report number 104 of 2013 to 2014 of 29 October 2013, published by the French Senate, titled L'Afrique est notre avenir. Go and find out Mr. Osman May. Since you people are stooges, you don't want to do history, you just copy and paste. You come to talk what you are talking. All right. In the report, the French admitted that they distorted the African history. They distorted the history of African countries, and the history needs to be rewritten by French and French and African historians telling the truth. So not only do francophones like Mr. Abubakar Osman May not know the history of their country, but any little they know was deliberately distorted by the French. It is, therefore, not correct to say that there was a deficit of information in the Northwest and Southwest regions leading to the war. Thirdly, Mr. Abubakar Osman May and Francophones are ignorant of the fact that in respect of the cooperation agreements signed with French territories in 1959 and the condition that they had to control education from elementary schools to university, the French imposed a mediocre system of education on its overseas territories, including La République du Cameroon. This was revealed by a francophone journalist and activist named Nathalie Yamb in a video titled, go and look for the video, Le système éducation francophone programmé pour échouer, Nathalie Yamb, YouTube. She says the mediocre system trains students to memorize their courses and recite them in exams and punishes students who do research. It trains followers and not thinkers, and her revelation of it training followers and not thinkers is very evident in what we live in Cameroon today. According to Professor Melang Shang, a political economist, in his publication on social media titled À l'Afrique, un continent échoué, the educational orientation from the agreement makes the francophone elite in francophone African very mediocre, that they reason like small birds hanging on the tree branch upside down, and their stupidity has no limit. All right. Sensing that Nathalie Yam may educate francophones out of this mediocrity, the French have harassed her and made her persona non grata in France. Google Nathalie Yam, interdiction d'entrée et de séjour en France. Ma réaction, YouTube. Just go and Google that, you will see it. It is same like Dr. Patrice Nganang was harassed and made persona non grata in Cameroon for writing the truth about the Anglophone problems. We make this clarification so that Mr. Abubakar Osman May and other Francophones should not be deceived by the lie that there was a deficit of information in the Northwest and Southwest regions leading to the war. We said above that while the French forbid the teaching of the history of Cameroon in La République du Cameroon, the history was taught in Southern Cameroon schools. This is what was taught in history that Northwesterners and Southwesterners know and Francophones do not know. It was taught in history that one, United Nations members states voted Resolution 1349 of Article 13 in the 794 meeting of the General Assembly of the United Nations in the 13th session of the 4th Committee on the 12th of March 1959, granting independence to La République du Cameroon to take effect on the 1st of January 1960. Can you hear that? The results were 56 votes for independence, 6 votes against, and 16 abstentions. The reference for the Francophone to verify this information is A. Resolution 1349, paragraph 13, and the PV is A. PV 79 13th March 1959. UN member states equally voted Resolution 1608 granting independence to Southern Cameroons in the 994th meeting of the General Assembly of the United Nations in the 15th session of the 4th Committee on the 21st of April 1961. The results of the vote were 64 votes for independence, 23 votes against, and 10 abstentions. Abstentions. Okay. The reference for those who do not know is A, Resolution 1608 15 and the PV is APV 994 of 21 April 1961, reference 642310 for Francophones to verify these facts in history. The independence of Southern Cameroon was to take effect from the 1st of October 1961. Mr. Abubakar Osman May, Francophones were forbidden by the French to learn this history. 2. It was taught in history in Southern Cameroons that prior to granting independence to Southern Cameroons, the United Nations got the Southern Cameroons to vote willingly in a plebiscite on the 11th of February 1961 that had two questions: whether to join La République du Cameroon to form a united federal Republic of Cameroon with equal status on attaining independence, or to join the independent Federation of Nigeria. Southern Cameroons voted in the plebiscite to join La République du Cameroon after independence on the equal status with clear terms as understood at the United Nations, including La République du Cameroon. The plebiscite was not a mandate for incorporation or absorption or integration or assimilation of the Southern Cameroons by La République du Cameroon. If it were, the United Nations would have integrated Southern Cameroons into La République du Cameroon that was independent in 1960, and it would not need Mr. Biya to tell Mo Abraham in Paris on the 12th of November 2019 that he has been trying to integrate 20% Anglophones into 80% Francophones, and it has failed. It was not a mandate for transfer of Southern Cameroon's territory to La République du Cameroon either. Mr. General Manager of Equinox TV and Abubakar Osman May, we have heard Francophone university professors cite emphasis and limit themselves to the independence by joining. In the plebiscite question of 11 February 1961, as the act that enslaves Southern Cameroons in La République du Cameroon, this is pure mediocrity. In the history that we were taught in Southern Cameroons, our teachers made a distinction between independence by joining and independence upon joining, as understood at the United Nations. What is the difference in history? Independence by joining was clearly understood by all concerned at the United Nations to mean forming a federation of two states equal in status. Amadou Ahidjo expressed this clearly to the British government as the position of his government in his note verbal number FM 68 of 1041/60, dated 16 December 1960, to the British government on the 24th of December 1960. Without a history, we wonder how many Francophones have read the above note verbal to know its content, or how many know the difference. How many know the difference? It was taught in the history that Amadou Ahidjo, the president of La République du Cameroon, and Jongo Foncha, the prime minister of Southern Cameroon, had several discussions on the two countries joining prior to 1961. Professor Campton Maurice has mentioned this some of his outings on TV. There was no question of the Southern Cameroons becoming a part of French Cameroon. If there were, Southern Cameroons would have been attached to or integrated into independent La République du Cameroon after the plebiscite. It was taught in history that the United Nations could not attach, fuse, or integrate Southern Cameroons in 1961 into La République du Cameroon that was independent in 1960, because Southern Cameroons had international legal status as a UN Category B trust territory, just like La Republic of Cameroon, with defined boundaries recognized in international law, as opposed to what we hear mediocre professors recite to francophones today. It is for this reason that the United Nations voted a resolution granting Southern Cameroon's independence, just like it voted a resolution granting independence to La République du Cameroon as former United Nations trust territories. 5. It was taught in history in the Southern Cameroons that the arrangement of Southern Cameroons joining La République du Cameroon on equal status was stipulated in a signed agreement between the Southern Cameroons and the French Cameroon in December 1960, and included in the plebiscite campaign document known as the Two Alternatives. We wonder how many francophones or professors who are so anxious to deceive francophones students that are oriented academically to follow them and not think, or who are anxious to distort history like the French did to them, have read this document. We wonder how many of them have read this document. The Two Alternatives. If any have read it, they would not display their mediocrity by citing independence by joining to justify the attempt to annex Southern Cameroon's Ambazonians. Number 6, let us emphasize to Abubakar Usman May and the director of Equinox TV for correction, and to other ignorant francophones, that the fact of Southern Cameroons joining La République du Cameroon to form a federation on equal status was confirmed by French Cameroon Ahidjo in its note verbale number FM 681041/60, dated 16 December 1960, to the British government on the 24th of December 1960. This fact is hidden from francophones who have no history. Point number 7. Mr. Abubakar Usman May, we were also taught in history that only two independent countries can form a federation. It was clearly written in the history of Cameroon by S.N. Tita that was taught in primary schools in West Cameroon after independence, that the reason why Southern Cameroons formed a federation with La République du Cameroon in 1961 was because they were two independent countries. Mr. Abubakar Osman May, do you imagine a situation where Amadou Ahidjo could have taken La République du Cameroon, which was independent in 1960, and federated it with Southern Cameroons on equal status when Southern Cameroon was not an independent country? This could not be possible. So why do francophones think that Southern Cameroons, which federated with La République du Cameroon as two independent countries, would today be a special status territory in La République du Cameroon? The answer is the mediocrity in the educational orientation from France that makes elite francophones behave as if Southern Cameroons was never independent. Point number 8. It was taught in history in secondary schools in Southern Cameroons that the United Nations at its inception in 1945 had taken disposition to handle the situation of countries that had to join with others after independence. Joining was not going to be by territorial theft, lies, intrigues, intimidation, primitive barbarism, killing of innocent people, or genocide. This was provided for in Article 102, Paragraph 1 of the United Nations Charter of 1945. Joining was going to be through a union treaty in accordance with the Article 102, Paragraph 1 of the United Nations Charter of 1945, and a copy of the treaty had to be deposited at the United Nations Secretariat for there to be a new country. Mr. Osman May, Abubakar, what we see today is that Out of ignorance, La Republic of Cameroon believes that it can intimidate southern Cameroons with war, corrupt a few gullible elites, and create its country through genocide or by distributing special status to um, to he who cares to have it. This is pure mediocrity, resulting from a failing educational, political, and socio-cultural orientation imposed by France and decried by francophones like Nathalie Yam above. So I would plead with La République du Cameroon and all the other fellows who are actually watching me at this time, and La République du Cameroon, of course, to note that as far as we are concerned, the independence of British Southern Cameroons was never an outcome of La République trying to claim and then enslave Ambazonians and cause us to join La République du Cameroon and live in mediocrity. Yeah, it was never intended to so be. So anybody who is hearing me right now, please, I will ask for your indulgence to please go ahead, share this our thoughts to so many Ambazonians, because I know that there are so many Ambazonians who actually love the Ambazonia, love their country, want to know exactly what is going on. Share this write up from the student caucus of Ambazonia, whom, as I told you, they have decided to reason. They don't want to behave like what La Republic has been taught to cram. When you finish cramming, then you now come and sit down and you're vomiting that which you have crammed. It's not done like that, please. So, Ambazonians, share this link, tell the people to come in. I'm going to put on my telephone line. If anybody has any contribution right now as I'm talking, you can feel free to give a shout and call in, bring your own contribution, share, of course, what you know about Ambazonia, because this is a land, I must tell you, this is a land that nobody can take it by himself or take it at will. We will not accept anybody to come in here, intimidate us, and try to take our land and make us look as if we don't know who we are and what we are doing. Ambazonians, we know who we are, we know what we are doing, and we stand very true to what we are doing and what we are saying. So, once again, I want to encourage you, Ambazonians, to make sure that you get into what we are talking and know exactly where we are. Now, I am going to continue with the reading so that Mr. Abubakar and the rest of the people should know that we, Ambazonians, we are not stooges. We're meant to think, and we are thinking. Now, point number 9, Mr. Abubakar Osmane and the general manager of Equinox we are aware in our history that there is no union treaty between the Republic of Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons per Article 102 of this of 1945, as indicated above. The way the two countries came together or associate to form one entity is through a treaty of union ratified by the respective countries. But unfortunately, we know through history that Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia does not have a union treaty with La République du Cameroon as required by the United Nations, despite the federation in 1961. Lord Justice Aya Paul Abine pointed this out to Francophones, and he was arrested without an arrest warrant and locked up in Kondengi for 8 months and later released without trial to conceal this fact from Francophones. Mr. Abubakar Osman May, please note the United States Federation was ratified all the 13 original colonies after negotiations between the 13 colonies. The agreements through these negotiations ushered in a constitution in 1791. The Treaty of Maastricht created the European Union, creating the European Union, which was ratified by all the member states. Britain opted out of the Union freely through a referendum. The USSR had no treaty of union with its constituent states and it collapsed. Yugoslavia had no treaty of union between its entities and it collapsed, with Bosnia, Croatia, and Montenegro becoming independent countries. Ditto for Ethiopia and Eritrea. There is no treaty union between La Republic of Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons Ambazonia, and La Republic of Cameroon believes it can conquer Southern Cameroons in the 21st century or use ignorant elite like Mr. Abubakar Osman May to distort history, intimidate, and corrupt a few gullible elites of Southern Cameroon's origin to give up its independence. No, it wasn't. It wouldn't work. When this does not seem to work, La République du Cameroon believes it can violate the UN Charter of 1945, use lies and corruption, and give Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia a special status territory in La République du Cameroon, like France gave to its overseas territories, Guadeloupe, Montanique, and Reunion, and Ile Maurice. What a mediocrity. It cannot happen to us that France will give us a overseas territory. And you forget to mention La République as a French overseas secretary, students, caucus of Ambazonia. You must include Cameroon, La République Cameroon, as one of the Guadeloupe, Montanique that France has given. As indicated above, the United Nations Charter of 1945 made provisions for countries joining to form one country in its Article 102 was one of chapter of the Charter. Joining of certain Cameroons that had independence following Resolution 1608, Article 15 of the United Nations General Assembly with the La Republic of Cameroon that had its independence following Resolution 1349, Article 13, was supposed to be by a union treaty, and a copy had to be deposited at the United Nations Secretariat. The treaty was going to, among other things, spell out the conditions of joining. The modifications in the territorial boundaries of the new country as a result of the joining and the protections indicated for the populations of the respective countries in the union. This was all going to be lined out. So, Mr. Abubakar Osman May, mediocre professors have alluded to Francophones that the Fumban Conference of 1961 was discussion between Southern Cameroons and La Republic of Cameroon. In their mediocrity from the educational orientation from France, which is condemned by Nathalie Yam because it is failing, they do not indicate to Francophones that the constitution that came out of the Fumban 1961, which they called the Federal Constitution, was never ratified by the Parliament of West Cameroon. All we know about Francophones so far is that one professor, Professor Maurice Kamto, once summoned courage to announce in a meeting in Canada that Anglophones are right when they say the Federal Constitution of 1961 was not ratified by the West Cameroon Parliament that existed. We have him on tape. This had consequences in international law, where Professor Maurice Kamto is an expert. The consequence is that the constitution was null and void in West Cameroon. Professor Maurice Kamto is the first Francophone we know who has summoned courage to say this to Francophones, just like Mr. Abubakar Osman May is the first Francophone we know who has summoned courage to tell Francophones that the boundary of their country was frozen at independence and it cannot be changed, and this was stipulated in the African Union Charter of 2000. Number 10, Mr. Osman Abubakar Mr. May, Osman May, and the general manager of Equinox, we know in the history that was taught to us in our schools prior to 1974 that Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia is not part of the country called La République du Cameroon at the United Nations. If you did not know it because you have no history and the French distorted whatever you were exposed to, like history, to get these historical facts, so you do not say that there was a deficit of information in Nozo, as you said on La Verite en Face on the 1st of May 2023. La République du Cameroon had independence effectively on the 1st of January 1960. La République du Cameroon applied to be admitted to the United Nations as a member state, and it was effectively admitted in the United Nations on the 20th of September 1960 with the boundaries it had at independence. As you indicated in your program, you know that these boundaries were frozen as at this date and cannot be changed. As we write, La République du Cameroon is a member of the United Nations as La République du Cameroon without Southern Cameroons as part of it. This fact is hidden from Francophones. After the independence of Southern Cameroons, effective on the 1st of October 1961, and joining La République du Cameroon as per plebiscite in the federation with equal status, La République du Cameroon did not and has never signed a union treaty with Southern Cameroons as required by Article 102, Paragraph 1 of the United Nations Charter of 1945. Consequently, I think my time is running out now. Consequently, yeah, consequently, um, consequently, Consequently, as you rightly say on the program, it is territorial boundaries at the level of the United Nations were frozen in 1960 and have never been changed to include Southern Cameroons as part of La République du Cameroon, as would have been if Article 102, Paragraph 1 of the United Nations chapter was respected. Hello? All right. I thought somebody was calling in here, and well, I'm on the air with the story that is written to inform and to teach Usman May and the Equinox people about what is going on. Yes, please. I'm live on ABC telling the story. Do you want to contribute?
Yes, I want to contribute, Reverend Komando.
Go ahead, sir. The microphone is yours.
I'm calling from home from the MMA country.
Go ahead.
You see, I don't know why you people are only lying, blaming the Federal Republic. The main author of this problem is Britain. Why are you dodging away from Britain? Britain is evil.
Yes.
Where we are today is Britain.
Yes, we know. We know that.
Britain is the person. But in the other day, our father, Ambassador Fosun Kele, said it the other day to Reverend Dr. Batus, for the first time came out. Why are we dodging from blaming Britain? Was Britain is the cause of all this problem we were suffering? Why are we dodging? Eh?
Okay, home front.
We are talking France, back at France. Please, I beg, with the truth to be spoken. When Britain rolled down the Union Jack, it gave it to Ahijo, giving powers. It was Britain who brought about the joining, not France.
Yes.
So the killing in Amazonia is by Britain.
Okay.
In this your program, somebody said Britain single 1,000 pounds. West Cameroon, Southern Cameroon money. Was that France? To make it to handicap us. Are you getting me?
I'm getting you 100%. The people of Ambazonia are getting you. The people of Ambazonia are getting you. Yes. We are getting you 100%.
So I'm against this question. We should point fingers at the main actor. The main actor is Britain.
Okay.
In your program, somebody took £1,000, and you heard it today. You're talking. France was not the person who brought about this question of joining. It was Britain. The killing of Amazonia is Britain. Britain is evil. We should forget if it is you. If they give you something, you not take it.
Yes.
Reverend Commander.
Yes, Homefront. I get you. I'm getting you. What we are saying here, I'm reading an article written by the Amazonian Students Caucus concerning a program that was aired a few days ago. That's in May of 2023 on Equinox Television. So we are correcting that historical fact, which is distorted, because here.
Yes, I understand what I'm with you, but what I'm saying is that
I'm getting your point. Yes.
We should point out. I'm correcting that. We should point our finger. The person who sent us, who made us to be suffering,
is
up
Britain.
to now.
Yeah.
If you believe that if Britain wants to liberate, I will not do it.
Okay. All right.
No country in the world has ever had an independence by saying joining. There is no charter in the United Nations that any country should join.
Yeah.
But it was Britain.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should point our fingers at Britain. And I want to use the media to say that what we are talking here, the enemy in the house, the some southern Cameroonians,
yes,
who are wicked, are the cause of our problem. Look at a man, a doctor, a professor will come out and said, we unified, we did this, very rash, as you have said.
Yeah.
If you look at people used to say, our father, because of this level of education, I said those who are educated were great practical. Look at how intelligent people behave when they go to Kumba. When they noticed that there was the people who were supposed to be there, they were not there, they avoided having any discussion with the Lara Republic. Let's look at the intelligent people. For fear that if they sat with them to talk anything, they may commit themselves. And that is why we have no commitment. They didn't commit us. Yet you come today and say that level of education. This was not a question of education, it was a question of power.
Okay. Yeah, please. Can I get another caller? Thank you very much for that information. I'll pass it to the right quarters.
I'm feeling that they should arrange. I'm appealing to the government to arrange a conversation with powerful song.
Okay.
With the Padita.
All right.
Yes, I'm feeling that they should do it.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. I will call later on again next time when you come on so that we talk better.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, we just got another caller. Tatan, you can call back right now. Remember, I'm just reading an article written by Caucus. They call them Caucus students of Ambazonian origin. And we know that Ambazonians are very intelligent people. They don't just copy and paste. Yes, sir. You are on ABC Amber TV. Oh, all right. Please call again on WhatsApp. Call on WhatsApp, please. All right. While I'm waiting for that call, and we may be rounding up here shortly, I want to say that Mr. Bia and his predecessors have left Francophones totally ignorant and believe they can use their distorted history, mediocre professors, deceit, Ambazonians by special status and war to change boundaries of the country and integrate Southern Cameroons into La République du Cameroon. We are gratified to know that at least one Francophone, meaning you, that is Mr. Abubakar, can tell Mr. Bia and Francophone professors that according to the United Organization of African Union chapter of 2000, La République du Cameroon's boundaries at independence cannot be changed, even by war, to include Ambazonia. Mr. Abubakar Osman May, La République du Cameroon is in no doubt that Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia was not a colony that integrated into La République du Cameroon to have independence. La République du Cameroon does not doubt its boundaries at independence with Ambazonia. It should therefore be clear to ignorant Francophones that Southern Cameroon is not part of La République du Cameroon internationally, and there is no country called La République du Cameroon that officially includes Southern Cameroons that had independence in 1961. Francophones do not know this truth. We know that in their ignorance and with a failing educational system, they do not know. This truth will not be changed by lies, deceit, falsehood, or a genocidal war. Now, we are here. Remember, I told you that in this program, which I have been given to actually read it out and call out the people of La République du Cameroon to understand that as far as Ambazonia is concerned, we are not a part and parcel of La République du Cameroon. And because we are not a part and parcel of La République du Cameroon, we want to make it very, very clear. Yes, very, very clear for the La République du Cameroon and those who are listening to us here that the history of Ambazonia cannot be rewritten by a group of fraudulent people who have refused to know history. And some of them actually have not actually refused to know history. They are just ignorant because of the way France has taught them. We know that Britain, like one of the callers has actually mentioned, they are the first criminals. Any one soul that has died in Ambazonia, the blood goes first of all to Britain, because after removing the Union Jack and about to go, the instruments of the independence of Ambazonia was handed over to France. Now, I'll also add that was handed over to La République du Cameroon by Britain. That's correct. Was handed over to La République du Cameroon by Britain, and I want to say that France was not ignorant about it. So, Mr. Abubakar Osman May, continuing with the writing, we challenge Mr. Bia and university professors and teachers in La République du Cameroon or Francophone students who do not simply follow blindly like zombies, because it is the educational orientation to do research. It is their educational orientation not to do research and prove the contrary with facts. You are wrong when you say there was a deficit of information in the Nozo. That is why there is war. Point number 11. I do not know how much time I have, but I think I will quickly run through point number 11, and then we'll end in point number 11. And when we come up next time, that will have opportunity, I will continue with this very important teaching and instructing article from the Ambazonian Ambazonian students caucus, as they call themselves. Please, I'm waiting for this last person who tried to call. Somebody was online. You can call right now, and I pick up your call, and they will come to a close of this program. The last article I'm going to read in a few minutes is article number 11, which says, Mr. Abubakar Osman May and the general manager of Equinox TV, we knew from our history that the Republic of Cameroon and Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia have distinct territorial boundaries recognized in international law that have never been disputed, and they were frozen at independence, as Mr. Abubakar Osman May says. The baseless and senseless war waged on Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia by La République du Cameroon has made ignorant Francophones, elites, and youths whose history is hidden from them to continue to believe that we are one country. No, we are not. The two countries, Southern Cameroon's La République du Cameroon, very distinct territorial boundaries that were established through international treaties and are recognized in international law, and they have never been disputed. These are the boundaries, Mr. Abubakar Osman may rightly say on the program La Verite on the 21st of May 2023, that they were frozen at independence and can never be changed. Thank you, Mr. Osman May, that boundaries frozen at independence can never be changed. And La Republic of Cameroon had its independence on the 1st of January 1960, and Ambazonia, Southern Cameroon, was never included in their independence. So their boundaries truly are frozen and never changed. For Francophones who are kept in ignorance by their distorted history, they should know that we, in the history, that the territory that is claimed by Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia as theirs, just like that claimed by La République du Cameroon, is well defined and attested by international boundaries treaties. It begins at the Atlantic coast in the Gulf of Guinea with a territorial sea consistent with the 1982 Convention on the Law of the Sea. Its frontiers with La République du Cameroon are firmly secured by the Alfred Seca Mina and Henry Simon International Boundary Treaty of 1917. That was confirmed by the Versailles Peace Treaty between France, Britain, and Germany in July 1919, respecting the frontier between the British Cameroons and French Cameroon. They were more elaborately defined in 1928 in a joint declaration by the governor of the colony and protectorate of Nigeria and the governor of French Cameroon, and approved in an exchange of notes between the British and the French governments on the 9th of January 1931, determining the frontier between British Cameroons and the French Cameroon. Its frontier with Nigeria is secured by the Boundary Treaty of 11th of March 1913 between Great Britain and Germany, respecting the settlement of the frontier between Nigeria and the Cameroons, and this agreement concerning the demarcation of the Anglo-German boundary between Nigeria and the Cameroons of 12th April 1913. These boundaries have never been disputed by La République du Cameroon or France or by Britain or Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Mr. Abubakar Osman May, what is happening is that Mr. Bia thinks that we are as ignorant as Francophones without a history, especially when elites like you talk of a deficit of information in Nozo. So he thinks that he can continue to hide these facts from Francophone elites and youths and change the boundaries by war and corruption of a few Amazonian elites. Of course, no. You would bear with us that such stupidity from French colonization is wrong and will not be tolerated in the 21st century and social media era. This is one of the reasons why we would fight until you go back to your boundaries at independence that you know were frozen in 1960. Ladies and gentlemen, it is at this juncture that I call it quit for this particular program of Tell the Story, given to me by our beloved Chief of Staff at the Presidency of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Yaya. And I will be coming up to read this particular document and conclude it in the next episode that we will have. Well, somebody, please, Tatang Emmanuel, I'm sorry to call your name. You can call now because I'm rounding up. I still have about 5 minutes to round up. The microphone and the telephone is yours. If you can call and say what you are saying here, we will be very, very happy to receive that. He says, Reverend, we are so proud of the way you read the letter from Ambazonian students to Abubakar Osman May. We have to continue to educate Francophones over and over and over. Thanks for your effort. Okay, well, that was our brother who is telling us we are doing this here. I want to applaud the first caller from Homefront, who is very, very conscientious of what we also know, that in most of what we are going through now, Britain is the main criminal regime or main criminal country that has put us in this mess. And we are not shying away from calling them directly. Now, is that this program here actually is correcting an error which is not only made by Usman May, but is an error that La République du Cameroon and those of its people don't even know their history. And as we go on in the article, I will show you how they are trying to make Mr. Ngo, who I have his little background here, to rewrite the history. In the 21st century, you are writing history that is already written. Even if it's not written, verbal history is very, very important. And we know that Ambazonia already has a verbal history that has been laid down and people already know it. So how are you going to come and write something in the 21st century? You want to educate who? With lies, because it will be lies. If you don't go by what is already factual and what is known and what is real, you will just be deceiving the entire, you're deceiving yourself, because you cannot deceive the whole population. And the last word I have to say here is to the Francophone youths. Please wake up from your sleep. A few days ago, I heard I called him an unfortunate and possibly an uninformed young man who called himself a pastor, a man of God, making some pronouncements that are so shameful for a person who is standing and talking to people created by God and is telling lies. Well, I wouldn't call it lies, because that could be gross ignorance. So, Mr. Preacher, if you don't know and you don't understand, keep quiet and talk that which you know. A lot of people know a lot of things, and nobody knows everything all by himself. That is why we, the Ambazonians, we glean from here and from there and put it together. I want to applaud once again our brother, our Ambazonian man, who is telling us that, well, France has a little blame, but the biggest blame goes to Britain. And we will make sure that we continue to say that Britain put us where we are today. So with this note, I want to say thank you, fellow Ambazonians, and see you tomorrow on our program, our Amba history, as it may be the case. God bless you and have a wonderful evening in Ambazonia. Thank you.
Worship you, I worship you. You are here, in every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you, I worship you. Hey, we make a miracle walking promise.